I would never actually do this, like ever. But I think it's really important for people to see.
Sydney Sweeney's path into Hollywood never followed the easy road. She wasn't born into an industry family or handed an open door to fame. She came from Spokane, Washington, a place far removed from the glare of red carpets and flashing paparazzi bulbs. But even as a child, she had the kind of determination that refused to be ignored. When most kids her age were dreaming loosely, Sydney was making a business plan. She sat her parents down and laid out a presentation to prove she had the discipline and vision to pursue acting seriously. It wasn't just a pitch. It was her first performance, and it worked.
Thank you very much. I am so happy to be here. My name is Sydney Sweeney.
With that, her life began to change. Los Angeles was waiting, though it didn't greet her with instant success. She stepped into an industry where thousands of hopefuls arrived every year, each one dreaming of being the next big star. The early years were filled with small parts, background characters, fleeting guest appearances on network shows. Grey's Anatomy, Criminal Minds, Blink, and you could miss her. But those moments mattered, because each role chipped away at the barrier between anonymity and recognition. She was stacking the blocks of something bigger, even if no one else could see it yet. Her real break came when she stepped into the messy, magnetic world of HBO's Euphoria. As Cassie Howard, she became impossible to ignore. The role was raw, emotionally unsteady, and demanded an honesty that Sydney delivered with striking power. She could devastate the audience with nothing more than a trembling lip or a glance filled with quiet devastation. Scenes that should have been small transformed into viral moments, endlessly shared online. Memes were born from her lines, fan edits flooded platforms, and in the space of a single season, she wasn't just playing a character, she was shaping a cultural conversation.
Howell?
Sydney Sweeney had arrived. Opportunities followed quickly. The White Lotus gave her another platform to prove her range, and again she shone. Offers piled up. Endorsement deals came her way. Magazine covers showcased her as the new face of Hollywood, a rising star who could embody glamour while still carrying the edge of unpredictability.
And they've been sending me pictures every time they go to a store or the airport and they see my magazine.
Red carpets embraced her. Talk shows paraded her as the next great leading lady. The story seemed perfect, one of those once-in-a-decade ascents that made Hollywood look like a dream factory again. But Hollywood has always loved a rise just as much as it loves a fall. And in 2024, the tide began to shift. The projects that were meant to cement her as a bankable star began to collapse under their own weight. Madame Web was supposed to be the kind of blockbuster that launched franchises and carried actors into untouchable stardom.
How's your eyesight?
I can see better than I ever have.
Oh yeah? Can you see us in the future?
Yes.
Instead, it landed with a thud. Critics dismantled it mercilessly. Audiences stayed home. Box office numbers crawled in far below expectations. The questions began almost immediately. If a movie this big couldn't pull her upward, what did that say about her star power? Then came Americana, a film that could have at least softened the blow with critical acclaim. Instead, it failed to connect with audiences and left barely a ripple in the cultural conversation. Two disappointments back-to-back may not sound like a death sentence in an industry where every actor has endured flops.
What are you gonna do with the money when we get it?
But momentum matters in Hollywood. Studios track it like blood in the water. 2 misses meant hesitation, and hesitation can be fatal. Still, she could have weathered those storms. Many before her had stumbled only to rebound with renewed force. What came next, however, was something different. Something that pulled her not just into box office debate, but into the center of America's cultural battlefield. Her partnership with American Eagle looked simple on the surface. A youthful actress, a denim brand, a playful pun, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. It was light, harmless, marketable. One video clip carried the campaign's message further. In it, Sydney leaned into the wordplay with a smile. Genes are passed down. My genes are blue. It was meant as cheeky fun, nothing more. But once online, the line didn't stay in the realm of lighthearted humor.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing.
Interpretations twisted quickly. Commentators pointed out that positioning a blue-eyed, blonde-haired actress as someone with great genes risked more sinister associations. What had been crafted as wordplay became entangled in heavy historical baggage, echoes of eugenics, racial purity, and exclusionary beauty ideals. Threads across social media dissected it relentlessly, and think pieces multiplied. American Eagle defended the campaign, insisting it was about denim and nothing more, but the damage was already done. Intention didn't matter anymore. Perception did, and perception had spiraled into controversy. Then came the political flood. Conservative figures rushed to her defense, claiming she was the victim of overblown outrage.
Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney broke down in tears on an emotional live stream.
Donald Trump himself weighed in, framing the backlash as proof that cancel culture had gone too far. The defense itself became gasoline on the fire. Progressives pointed to the support as validation of their concerns, claiming that the controversy revealed deeper issues with representation and messaging in Hollywood advertising. Sydney had never meant for a denim ad to define her, but suddenly she was no longer just an actress. She was a political flashpoint. In an industry that treasures neutrality and broad appeal, this was poisonous. Studios don't want their stars dividing audiences. They want universality, not controversy. And now Sydney carried with her an association that felt radioactive. The timing could not have been worse. With her films underperforming and her image tied to a controversy she never asked for, the whispers inside Hollywood grew louder. At first, it was subtle. Rumors that her name was being skipped over for projects, speculation that casting directors were uneasy about the potential baggage she carried. Then came the reports of isolation. At red carpet events, photographers captured her standing apart from co-stars. Paparazzi shots increasingly showed her alone. Insiders claimed that colleagues were pulling away, not out of malice, but out of fear that being connected to her could drag them into the storm. That's when the word began to creep in. Blacklisted. Of course. Hollywood doesn't blacklist the way it once did. There is no published document, no official ban. The modern version is quieter, more insidious. It looks like phone calls that never come, auditions that are suddenly canceled, producers saying, "We're moving in a different direction," without elaboration. It is the silence that replaces buzz. And for Sydney, the silence was becoming deafening. Her defenders argue this narrative is exaggerated. They point to her age, her undeniable talent, her proven ability to command a screen. They argue that flops fade, controversies pass, and stars often return stronger after setbacks. They name actors who fell only to rise higher. They believe Sydney has that same resilience, that one big role could flip the story back in her favor. But her critics insist the pattern is clear. 2 failed films, a campaign that backfired into controversy, and an industry increasingly cautious about her presence. They argue that Hollywood has already started its quiet retreat, calculating the risk and deciding it is easier to invest in fresh faces without baggage. To them, Sydney's downfall isn't an accident. It's the natural outcome of bad luck, bad timing, and bad optics. What makes her case uniquely dangerous is the politicization. Neutrality is no longer an option. She has willingly or not become a symbol. To one side, she is a victim of cancel culture. To the other, she is proof of Hollywood's complicity in promoting outdated and exclusionary ideals. And caught between both is Sydney herself, an actress who never wanted to become a pawn in a culture war, who only wanted to sell denim.
I don't know if I'm a good person.
The truth is murky. There is no formal blacklist, no proof of exile. But in an industry where image dictates opportunity, perception can become reality. If she is seen as risky, then doors will quietly close. Not in grand gestures, but in the subtle fading of options, the loss of invitations, the absence of offers. Careers in Hollywood don't always end with public implosions. Sometimes they end with silence, with no one noticing you're gone until someone asks, months later, what happened to you? Sydney Sweeney now stands at one of those precarious crossroads that define careers. One breakout performance, one hit show, one film that captures critics and audiences alike could flip the script, reminding everyone why she became a star in the first place. But another controversy, another failure, another misstep could cement the narrative that she is no longer worth the risk. And that is the cruel paradox of Hollywood. It doesn't have to destroy you outright. It only has to stop calling. The question now is whether the phone will ever ring the same way again for Sydney Sweeney, or if she will quietly fade into the background of an industry that once seemed destined to make her its brightest star. And if you want to keep following stories like this, where fame, scandal, and Hollywood's ruthless cycles collide, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Because in the world of stardom, the next twist is always closer than you think.